Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mario Cristobal, the Miami Hurricanes, working towards the end of fall camp. And, we have some fascinating names that are really starting to generate some buzz within this Miami Hurricanes program. Now, it is no secret that this Miami Hurricanes team is garnering a ton of national media buzz heading into 2024. Now, the Miami fans who've been rocking with the boys all summer, you guys know I've been buying stock in this program really all the way back into spring practice. That being said, a lot of the conversation around this Miami Hurricanes team goes to guys like Cam Ward or Damian Martinez or Ruben Bain, legitimate difference makers for this Hurricanes program. I'm not saying they're not good football players. The aspect that I think is getting slept on around this Miami Hurricanes team is how deep they are, specifically along the lines of scrimmage. And I think one of the biggest storylines that, at least personally for me, I'm kind of getting out of fall camp is you're starting to have some of these rotational depth pieces really emerge heading into 2024. This is an important conversation to have where, again, it's not always flashy. We'd rather be talking about Cam Ward, but this stuff matters. You can go back to what made Michigan so special in 2023, what made the Georgia Bulldogs continue to be really special. Yeah, they have the NFL talent, but they're also extremely deep. Miami has struggled with the depth. They've had some talent, haven't been a really deep football program. You look at the goals of what Miami has heading into 2024, it's not just to go win 8 football games. It's to go win the ACC championship, go make a run in the college football playoffs. In order to do that, you have to play your best football in the months of November, December, stay healthy, stay deep for 14, 15 football games. Depth is going to matter for this Miami Hurricanes team. And to hear some of that depth kind of standing out, I want to get into a few players who are generating some buzz. I also have to address a prediction that I made pretty much all summer long that I might have to pull back my expectations on. It's for a good reason, but we're going to have a conversation about how this offense is going to look as well. Before we get into it, as always, massive shout out to the Miami Hurricane fans. I mean, whether we're talking the recruiting trail, preview in 2024, the amount of support y'all have shown in the middle of the summer, it's been a blast for me to talk about this program. I can't thank you guys enough for all the support y'all have thrown in the comment section. The Hurricanes emoji is becoming one of the most used emojis on my phone. I appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into this one. I want to start with Ahmad Moten, and I'll kind of put my hand up. Miami Hurricane fans who've been rocking with the boys kind of know I wasn't out on Ahmad Moten, but I wasn't that optimistic that he was going to be a guy in 2024. I mean, you listen to Ahmad Moten in spring camp. I believe he missed almost all of spring practice with an injury. Hadn't really produced the first 2 seasons within this Hurricanes program. I was not necessarily counting on him being a factor in this defensive line rotation. Now you read the fall camp notes and say, hey, Ahmad Moten's going to be a guy within this Miami Hurricanes defensive line. Now, is he going to start on the defensive line? No, but he's one of those body types that I think Miami desperately needs to kind of break out in 2024, where you look at the majority of the interior defensive linemen that Miami's going to have. Simeon Barrow Jr., Marley Cook, throw in guys like Anthony Campbell maybe or Justin Scott. Longer, taller, a little bit leaner, active interior defensive lineman, really good interior defensive lineman. I think Simeon Barrow Jr. is the best interior defensive lineman on this football team. That being said, they're not necessarily that fire hydrant build. You don't want them playing that nose tackle position, that 0-1 tech spot. The only real proven commodity for Miami with that kind of body type at that kind of position is CJ Clark. And I think the question was, all right, when CJ Clark's not on the field, who's going to be playing that position for Miami? It sounds like that might be Ahmad Moten. He's got the perfect body type to do it. Now you look at CJ Clark, Ahmad Moten. Are we going to expect them to go for 10-plus tackles for loss and 10-plus sacks in 2024? No, absolutely not. We have a certain role that they're going to need to play. Eat up double teams, let your linebackers play free, let other guys like Simeon Barrow Jr. have those ideal matchups so they can go be difference makers. You look at all the elite college football defenses, they have these kind of guys that don't garner a ton of national media attention, but they make the defense really good. I think Ahmad Moten emerging as that guy that can kind of play that role that CJ Clark is going to play for Miami. I think that's a massive storyline because prior to the news about Ahmad Moten kind of breaking out, becoming a rotational piece, I was a little bit concerned about the depth with that particular body type and position. I feel a lot better about it. And you look at Ahmad Moten, he is built to play that nose tackle position at 6'3", 325. a little bit shorter, lower pads, can get underneath guys and kind of eat up double teams. Again, Ahmad Moten's not going to be a household name by the end of the 2024 season. That being said, if we get Ahmad Moten to step up, I think that is serious good news for this Miami Hurricanes team, particularly in the middle of that defensive line. When you go and think about playing a team like Clemson in the ACC Championship or Florida State, which I think will have a pretty good offensive line, or in the college football playoffs, playing a team like Oregon or Michigan or Georgia, these bodies you need. And I think Miami's developing those bodies, and Ahmad Moten's going to be one of those guys in that rotation. I think that's really good news for Miami. The next guy that I want to talk about, Cole Mcconathy. Now, do I think Cole Mcconathy plays a ton of football for this Miami Hurricanes program in the 2024 season? No, the answer is no. They're loaded at the edge position, right? Guys like Ruben Bain, Tyler Barron, Elijah Alston. That being said, the more the merrier on the defensive line. I was going back to the 2023 season. Ruben Bain, as a true freshman, played 630 snaps on that Miami Hurricanes defensive line. Why did he have to play that much as a true freshman? Yes, he was a really good football player. And I'm not getting up here and saying, hey, we got to keep Ruben Bain off the field, but I am saying that that's a lot of snaps for anybody to play, much less a true freshman, kind of highlighting the depth concerns that Miami had at that edge rusher spot. Cole Mcconathy is super interesting take for Miami in the 2024 class. He had over 200 tackles, 38 sacks, over 60 TFLs during his last 2 seasons of high school football. From a technical standpoint, this kid was really impressive. He's long. He knows how to use that length. Now, I think the question for Cole Mcconathy is he going to be physically ready to play as a freshman for this Miami Hurricanes program? It sounds like he's going to be physically ready. And again, do I think he's going to be playing 30 snaps a game for Miami? Absolutely not. But if he can give you 10 quality reps, let Ruben Bain come off the field, keep him fresh, not only for 4 quarters of a football season, but more importantly, 15 games of a college football season, that's going to matter. And so as you continue to hear about some depth emerge from the defensive line, I am continuing to buy stock in how good this Miami Hurricanes front seven can be. Hey, Ruben Bain dominated almost every single snap that he played, and that was over 630. He's going to look a heck of a lot better if he only has to play 500 and he's fresher and he's a little bit more fresh and a little bit more healthy. That's only going to help Ruben Bain as a football player. Going to the last guy I want to shout out that I think is going to break out before I have to backtrack on my prediction. Fascinating story. I love this about college football. Love these kind of stories. Ryan Rodriguez from the 2021 class committed to this Miami Hurricanes program as an undersized offensive lineman. That a lot of people had question marks, including myself. He sounds like he's going to be that center too, and going to be a rotational piece within this Miami Hurricanes offensive line. One, depth on the offensive line. We continue to want to hear that, but I think more importantly, again, Zach Carpenter, knock on wood, doesn't go down, but if he were to, you don't have to completely reshuffle this offensive line. If Ryan Rodriguez is a guy that you can trust to play a game or two while Zach Carpenter gets healthy, really big storyline. You see a lot of times when teams have not really reliable center twos, that causes all sorts of problems with the offensive line. To hear Ryan Rodriguez come in, obviously Matt Lee transfers in, then Zach Carpenter, he knows he's going to have to wait his time. He knows damn well that him coming to Miami is going to be a process. He wasn't going to see the field early in his college football career. To see him kind of stick with it during the first couple of years and kind of emerge as a guy that Miami might be able to rely on. One, love the story. Two, massive for Miami's offensive line. I love to hear some of these, depth pieces kind of break out, give some love to some guys that aren't named Cam Ward and Damian Martinez. Again, I want to make it very clear. Massive fan of Cam Ward, massive fan of Damian Martinez, but there are a lot of other good football players on this Miami Hurricanes roster. Now we got to get into the prediction I've been kind of banging the table for all offseason, and that is Xavier Restrepo going for over 1,200 yards. I might have to temper those expectations. And it has nothing to do with Xavier Restrepo not being a good football player. I still think he's a top 10 wide receiver in the country. Ain't backtracking on that one bit. As we continue to go through fall camp, the amount of talent at the wide receiver position is going to be insane. And so when I look at how this offense is going to operate, I think in the spring, especially before the addition of Sam Brown, especially before the emergence of Isaiah Horton, I was kind of looking and said, hey, Cam Ward, Xavier Restrepo, it's going to be a really dynamic connection. It still is going to be a very dynamic connection. But as I look at this Miami Hurricanes offense, there's just a lot of mouths to feed. I don't think Xavier Restrepo is going to be force-fed the football as much as we probably thought he was going to be fed during the months of February and March. I think this Miami Hurricanes team is going to be very balanced. I think this team's going to run the football a lot, especially with the addition of Damian Martinez, how good we think this offensive line is going to be. Xavier Restrepo still my pick to lead this team in receiving yards. That being said, I think it's going to be a lot more balanced, which is only good for Miami, right? You do not want to be a one-dimensional offense, right? That gives you a lot of problems when you start to play really good football teams. Xavier Restrepo, I think, is still the wide receiver one, but now you have Sam Brown. Now you have Jacoby George, who apparently is having a really good last couple of weeks in fall camp. Isaiah Horton emerging, Damian Martinez in the backfield, an elite offensive line. I look at this team and say, yeah, I think they're going to run the football a lot. I think Sam Brown's going to get a lot of work. I think Isaiah Horton is going to get a lot of work. Jacoby George as well. So tempering my expectations on Xavier Restrepo from a production standpoint. That being said, I think it's only a good thing for Miami because now you're just seeing so many different ways that Shannon Dawson can start to attack opposing defenses. We'll cut it there. I think the big highlight that I wanted to get into is this team's really deep. And I think specifically along the line of scrimmage, that's going to matter for this Miami Hurricanes team, especially as you get into the late months of November and December. We'll cut it there. Again, appreciate y'all rocking with it. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.